Hi guys, so a big problem with the coverage of the rail strikes in the media is that it's presented as a fight between the railway bosses and the trade unions, when in reality it's more about how Grant Shapps, the former Transport Secretary, has cut funding to the rail network, and this means that rail operators have to cut costs. The first port of call when reducing expenses for companies is to lay off staff or to change working conditions. Here the General Secretary of the RMT Union, Mick Lynch, explains how having a better funded rail network is better for the economy. But he also challenges the government when it comes to the unfair tax burden being placed on workers and not on the mega rich. Have a listen.
How do we come to some sort of negotiation? Is there any room at all on your part for any negotiations at all?
Well, they can meet the costs. What's happened is that Grant Shapps and these Tory ministers have decided to cut £4 billion out of the railway funding, £2 billion from the National Railway and £2 billion from the London Underground. And what they're saying is that they want to make workers poorer in order to meet their budget requirements. Now, they've decided to make that decision. The railways and our metro systems all across the country and the bus systems need to be in good nick. They need to be properly funded so that workers can get to the workplace and solve the productivity problems of Britain. But we're not going to tolerate a diminution of our members' to conditions, the dilution of their wages and ripping up their conditions. So they can afford it and they should afford it. And what they've got to do is tax the rich. They've got to say to the companies that are making vast profits that we are prepared to redistribute that wealth. There is plenty of money in this society. People have never been richer, the super rich. We've got more billionaires than we've ever had. And what we need to do is redistribute that wealth in favour of working class people in Britain and in favour of working class communities so that we can rebuild our country on a different basis of fairness and equality.
I agree with him 100%. But, and of course the big but here is Brexit. The whole goal of Brexit, and I've said this before, it's been twofold. One is to keep the racists happy and the other is disaster capitalism. But another aspect of that disaster capitalism is to reduce taxation on multimillionaires and billionaires and large companies and instead to tax the working class, to get them to pay for public services and at the same time cutting public services. This has been the goal of Brexit. And if we look at who's likely to replace Boris Johnson, what are they talking about? They're talking about tax cuts. So they want to reduce taxation further on the mega rich. And I'm a little bit disappointed with Mick Lynch here because he still thinks Brexit is a good idea. He still supports Brexit. He should be running in the opposite direction, I think, because we're seeing how Brexit is about reducing worker protections, about siphoning money off to the Tory donors and multimillionaires and billionaires. Those people are benefiting from Brexit. Those people are benefiting also from the environment of Brexit, the reduced regulations, the reduced protections for workers. It's not just about money, it's also about allowing these companies to run roughshod over the environment, over people's rights and workers' rights. That's what it's all about. I don't know how he can continue to support that. Obviously, he doesn't like that aspect of Brexit. I don't know what aspect of Brexit he does like. But this is not a criticism of Mick Lynch here, but this is the reality the country is facing. Reduced services because there isn't enough money, because the government don't want to support them. And going forward, you're going to see more and more conflict between the rail network and its workers, but by design in a sense, because the government don't want to fund this. They want to reduce public service. They want a smaller government. They don't care about providing more and more services. And with borrowing going up, that's going to have to be paid for. And of course, it's going to come out of the public purse by not providing public services. Some people are talking about when Boris Johnson goes, Brexit will go. No, that's not going to happen. The people likely to replace Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak, supporter of Brexit, probably the worst person in charge, maybe even worse than Boris Johnson, because he's more about providing support for his friends, the mega rich, at the expense of ordinary people and ordinary workers. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.